Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Today I'm going to share with you how I figure out doing multiples in a stitch pattern. Figuring out the multiple for a stitch count isn't so hard, but it requires you to visualize the pattern so you can break it down physically to see the multiple. For those new to crochet or unsure about stitch multiples, let's quickly just review what it is and then why you might care about it at the same time. Well, what is a stitch multiple anyway? Well, in patterns there are repeating stitches that form a look on a project. So usually it involves a set of stitches that repeats itself to form the appearance. The trick to multiples is that there has to be balance and proportion. So let's take the analogy of using a bowling alley, and we have two gutters in one flat area to throw the ball so that you can hit your pins. So thinking back to crochet now, the gutters are the edges of both sides of your project and the flat area is the stitch multiple that rests between the gutters. So what does the stitch multiple count mean in a pattern? The stitch multiple count, for example 3 plus 2, this is giving you two pieces of information. 3 is the actual number of stitches that repeats the pattern across the project. So this is the area between the gutters if you're thinking back to the bowling alley. So you know that the project has a multiple of 3. So the number 2 is the additional chains needed to keep balance of the chain. So those are your gutters, otherwise known as the edges. So if you were to crochet this chain, you would do the chain like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 and keep counting like that until you get to your desired length. And then at the end of the chain you're going to add your additional 2 chains in order to bring balance back to your chain. If you prefer to count a larger number instead of doing 1 2 3 1 2 3, you can just use a calculator or your mind to do the following. Your larger number should be a multiple of 3. So for example, if you go to chain 60, 60 divided by 3 equals 20 multiple sets. So the 2 chains at the end then will be added when you're done, and this will allow you to create your gutters or your edges of your project easily. There are proper ways to read a multiple stitch count, so let's review that next. Most stitch counts will have a number plus a number, but this is not always the case. So let's take a look at 3 examples so you can understand the difference. Which multiple stitch count is written incorrectly? Number 1, multiple 2 plus 1. Number 2, multiple 2 plus 2. Number 3, multiple 2. So which one is incorrect? So number 1 is correct. The stitch counts are in 2s and then 1 is added at the end to keep the chain in balance. So this is written correctly. Number 2 is also correct. The stitch counts are multiples of 2 and at the end of the chain you just add 2. So that's technically correct too. And number 3 is also correct, and the stitch counts are just multiples of 2. So if they're all correct, which one is actually wrong? If you guessed it was number 2 is technically correct but written wrong. There is no difference between number 2 and 3 because it's the same thing. So here's what you have to keep in mind. If the multiple number plus the additional number is the same number, it's simply given as one number because it's the same thing. So 2 plus 2 is the same thing as saying multiple of 2. So to recap, multiples can be something like 6 plus 3, or they can just be a single digit of multiple of 5. If there is no additional chains needed to bring the chain back into balance, you will not see a plus sign with an additional number added to it. So let's look at length of repeating stitches. In multiples there can be as little as 2 or even as high as 20 to 30 stitches. So for example, let's take a look at the cable work afghan, and it has a lot going on, and I figured out the repeat pattern is actually multiple 21 plus 15. Due to the crossover Celtic knot appearance and the arrow stitches that rest between the Celtic knots plus the edges have something unique, the multiple is a great deal of stitches plus an additional number of stitches in order to bring the starting chain in balance. So to be frank with you, it took me about 30 minutes to figure out with 100% confidence of what these repeats were. So the designer's original starting chain had to be the same number, and I had to figure everything out in order to bring it back in balance. The designer had a starting chain of 120 and she hasn't told us the multiple, so we cannot know what the repeat stitches are. So we need to review the diagram and actually figure it out. So let's quickly review this, and then I'll slow down the process so you can figure out another example later on in today's tutorial. So I'd already figured out that it was multiples of 21, and I wanted to verify that I was actually right. And I'm going to show this process later on in today's tutorial as well. So what I did is that I took the count of 120 and divided by multiples of 21, which gave me 5.7. So now that we know that there's a minimum of 5 repeating sets of multiples. So because we have a 0.7, we know that there are stitches left over, but how many would that be? Here's how you can figure that out. So I take the even number of multiple of 5 sets times 21, which gives me 105. Now I take the designer's total count of 120 and subtract 105, which gives me 15. So this confirms my assumptions of being multiples of 21 plus 15. But exactly how did I get that? That's what we're going to be covering later on in today's tutorial. So now if I want to change the size of this particular afghan, if I keep it in sets of multiples of 21, and when I'm satisfied with the width of it, I can just add an additional 15 and my project will stay in balance and perfect. But how did I get that 21 in the first place? That's what I'm going to show you next. So let's take a look at a quick pattern, and most patterns do not have an existing diagram to look at, so we have to take the written instructions and start and draw a miniature version of what we are reading. First off, when I open the pattern, I notice that the blanket is in strips, which is not a big deal. But let's just say I didn't want the strips and I wanted to do a solid piece all the way across. So I don't want to worry about sewing the strips later. So let's look at the instructions and break this down to manageable sizes and then figure out what the multiple is so I don't have to do strips. So on screen are the instructions that we have, and what I'm looking for is that I have to see where the multiple is appearing. So when I go to look at the instructions, it says with MC, which means main color, chain 39. Can you tell an actual repeat pattern from that? No, you can't. So row number 1, it says 1 single crochet in second chain from the hook, and then it says 1 single crochet in each all the way to the end. There's no repeat pattern there. It's simply the same stitch all the way across. So the repeat pattern does not appear until the second row. But what's the problem with that? Well, you have to actually go backwards and figuring out row number 2, then row number 1, and then back to the starting chain. So for larger examples, including this one, drawing out 39 stitches across the page is time consuming but also not necessary. Your goal is to make a miniature of what you see in the instructions. So technically you could draw the full diagram of what you're reading, but you don't need to, and the reality is that you want to crochet as quickly as possible, so let's not deny that. So the trick is to start on row number 2. Why row number 2? Well, if you read row number 1, it was simply 1 single crochet all the way across. So there's no evidence of a multiple when you were doing that. So you have to jump ahead to row number 2 where the first evidence of a multiple appears. And in this particular case, it's row number 2. It doesn't always have to be row number 2. It could be row number 1, 3, 5. It doesn't matter. You just have to look for the first time that you can see a multiple is happening. How do you identify where the multiple is anyway? We have to look for the asterisks, and that will give you a clear indication of what you need to do. So as a rule of thumb, the repeat multiples are usually shown for the first time either in row number 1, 2, 3, or 4, and it depends on the complexity of the pattern as well, and you need to find where it first appears and then work backwards from that point to the very beginning of the starting chain. Though you're going to see it on screen in computer format, the reality is that I do all of this by hand, and I usually do a rough diagram first and then I redraw it better as I come to understand what the stitches are doing. It's not always obvious when you're going to write these out of what things are happening until you get further on as you be able to put this thing together. So what I'd like to do is go from right to left, and then we just have to draw out row number 2. So I want to draw at least 3 multiples of what's happening inside the pattern. So you really don't know how many stitches it is until you begin to really decipher the pattern. So it's kind of a mystery until we start revealing its secrets. Here's a cool trick. We know that row number 1 was actually just the same stitch that is underneath these stitches that we're going to do on row number 2. So what I want to do is that as we complete row number 2, we are going to fill in the information underneath row number 2 with row number 1 at the exact same time in order to solve the mystery. So we're putting this together in pieces, but not always just straight lines back and forth, but sometimes we can just fill in blocks of information as we know it as we go all the way across. So in row number 1, all we just have is 1 single crochet in each stitch. So whatever we do in row number 2 is going to sit in a single crochet in the row below. So all we need to do is that when you're skipping over stitches, you just have to draw in the single crochets to fill in the spaces of where you're skipping in row number 1. So if there's no skip stitches in your particular pattern, then you don't need to worry about it, but just fill it in with the information that is revealing to itself in the rows below. So let's begin to fill this in. So from the right you will draw up a chain up 3. It's said to chain 3, and so we're going to draw that, and then what we're going to do is that we know that it's a single crochet in the row below, so we're going to put a single crochet underneath that and we're going to work our way to the left. It now says to skip over 3 stitches, which includes the first chain, and that's the same stitch that the 3 are into. So now we have to draw 3 more single crochets into row number 1, and those are representing the ones that we're about to skip. It says now to double crochet into the next stitch. So knowing that there is no other stitches from that chain 3 that you did, you know that the double crochet must be leaning over to reach that next stitch. So let's just draw that in. It now says to chain 1, so let's add in a chain 1, and then it says to double crochet in the second missed stitch. So the double crochet must be crossing back over to reach the first stitch on the other side. So let's draw that in. So notice that the asterisk appears in the written instructions. So we know at this point that the instructions are repeating from this point where it's giving us. So every time we hit to this point, we're just gonna repeat over and over. So really what we're looking at already is already a repeat pattern. So let's continue just to verify. It now says to miss the next 2 stitches. So what you can do is just add in 3 more single crochets into row number 1, and you will add the double crochet that is leaning over to the 3rd stitch that you put in there and leaving the 2 other stitches untouched. Then do a chain 1, and then you're gonna do a double crochet that is going into the first of the 2 missed stitches. So now you appear to have the crisscrossing shape once again. So by now you can start to see the multiples appearing. So now you have 2. I recommend that you do at least 3 repeating patterns in order to understand this pattern fully. I do that with every example that I do. Always get a minimum of 3. So repeat the asterisk instructions just one more time and then stop, and make sure you don't forget to add in that single crochet in row number 1 under them, and I will give you a few seconds at this point to be able to process this. So on screen you can see that you have 3 crisscross double formations happening. So instead of doing the entire instructions completing all the way that it showed in the pattern, there is enough evidence now to show you what the multiple is, even though you're not quite done. So how do we finish this row? Let me show you that next. So now I want you to read the final instruction on row number 2, and it says to double crochet in the last stitch. So after you've finished one complete repeat pattern, what this means is that there's gonna be a double crochet right into the next stitch. So what this means on the diagram you're doing is that you will add in 1 more single crochet stitch in row number 1 and just fill that in with a regular double crochet to finalize. But how are you sure that's actually right? If you were unsure, look on how you started this particular row. You did a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then you have a double crochet leaning over in the very next stitch. So there are no spaces between the first and the second stitch. So that must mean for the end, if the pattern is stated in keeping in balance, that the final double crochet is sitting directly beside one of the repeat patterns so that there's no spaces. So it should look like it's in balance, just like the gutters on the bowling alley. In certain patterns, sometimes the repeat doesn't always have a balance, just like you see it here. Sometimes it can be offset, especially when doing moss stitching or anything like that. So it's not always a given that it has to be perfect balance from one side to the other, but in most cases it is. So now we have row number 1 and 2 are complete, but I think something is missing. So what is that something? Yeah, that's right, it's the starting chain. So let's begin to do that next. When reading back to row number 1, it stated 1 single crochet second chain from the hook. That means that there is 1 chain that is like a builder that is in this particular row. So let me draw it in here to show you. So as you can see, the second chain from the hook is actually under the first single crochet. So the first chain is actually beside the single crochet in row number 1. So it's like the builder. So to complete the rest of this diagram, you need to put 1 chain under each stitch all the way back to the very beginning. So now that you have a miniature sample of what the pattern repeat is, now you have to figure out what the actual multiple is and what the actual counts are. So let's begin to do that next. So let's break this down. Let's look closely at the pattern and look for commonality in the stitches. You can only count each stitch once as you work your way across. So let's draw a line under the first time the double crochet appears that is leaning over on the left. And then what we're gonna do is that we're just gonna start looking for commonality all the way across that row. Now draw another line under the next time you see that exact same stitch of where it appears again, and then moving down the line again, I want you to draw another line straight on down for where that stitch appears again. So by the end of it, you should have 3 lines that are facing down in order to complete this. This is this particular example. You can have others if you wanted, if you did more than 3 repeats at one time. So what I want you to do is count the number of stitches that is between the first line down and the stitch right before where the next line appears to come down. So don't include that next line that appears down, because that's part of the next multiple and not part of this one. So by doing this, you can now see that there are 3 stitches in each grouping. So now you have figured out that the multiple is in sets of 3. So we have a multiple of 3 plus what now? We have to figure out what that plus number is, if it exists at all. So now that's what we're going to figure out next. So now we have to figure out what that plus number is, if it exists at all. So now we have to draw 2 more lines, one on the left hand and one on the right hand side. And what I want you to do is that I want you to draw it down so that you can see what stitches are not actually being used by the existing grouping. And so you want to do this on both left and right side and see what stitches are not accounted for. So now you'll draw 2 lines, one on the left hand side and one on the right. Sometimes it doesn't exist on both sides, but if any stitches in the chain are not used, that's where you want to draw your lines so that you can see where those are. So you're gonna see that when you do this is that you'll have 2 chains that have not been accounted for on the left, and on the right that you'll see 1 chain that isn't counted. So we want to add up the total of chains that are not used and accounted for when we did the multiples the first time. So in this particular case there are 3 chains that are not accounted for. Those 3 chains are necessary for you to stay in balance. So your multiple is now what? So we already knew that it was a multiple of 3, plus then we just added up the unaccounted chains that were left over, and that was also 3. So it's actually a multiple of 3 plus 3, but if you remember from earlier, this type of multiple cannot be written like this. So because the first number and the additional number are the same, this pattern is simply just a multiple of 3. And how do we know if that's correct? Well, we have to look back to the starting chain. Let's begin to do that. So the designer had us do a chain count of 39. So in order to figure out if 3 was the actual correct number, we take 39 and divide it by 3, and that gives you an equal number of 13. There's no decimal points, so we know instantly that we were particularly correct. So if it came up as 13.7 or 13.3 or something like that, we know that this particular one of multiples of 3 was incorrect, and we have to refigure it out. So this is an exact way on how to be able to do all of this and actually have confidence, because you have to get back to the original number if you were to figure it out. So to recap, now that you have drawn your diagram, that you can easily use that to follow along when doing this pattern, and if anything you understand the pattern now that you've gotten to break it down. Just as a word of caution, if you change a multiple project, for example you convert a baby blanket and make it into a double-sized Afghan, you are not creating a new pattern. So don't assume that this process is a free pass to take an existing pattern and change the stitching counts of the original chain in order to make the pattern your own. It really doesn't work that way when it comes to copyright and trademark licensing. So just watch yourself and make sure that that's not something that you're practicing. So this is a great way for you to be able to change sizes and figure out what those are, so you can adapt and customize your crochet to suit your particular needs. So that's it for today. Enjoy the multiples and have fun with the process. Multiples really don't scare me unless they get ultra complicated, which rarely happens. But that's it for now, and have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. We'll see you.